This morning we're going to share with you the trip that we had in Mexico. A couple weeks ago we got to go to La Naga, Mexico, spend time with the missionaries there that we now support as a church. And it was an amazing time. It was not without challenges. The week before we left, we had, I think there was a measles outbreak first, so we got warning about that down there. They were having a measles outbreak, and I think it was kind of everywhere, but they had it there. So we had to put out, hey, team, is anybody, if you haven't had, you haven't been vaccinated or you haven't had it, and you don't want to go, let me know. Nobody bailed out, so that was fine. And then we have a cartel leader that was picked off 5 days before we're leaving, and that was a little hairy. So we just said, you know what, we'll just pray about it. We're going to keep informed every day. And everything worked out great. Within 3 days, that had settled down. The missionaries called and said, you're good. Don't worry about it. You would never know anything happened. So we got there. It was wonderful. And it wasn't without its challenges coming back either. I always told my team, said I don't like Dallas. Every time I go through, at least the airport, I don't know about the town, but every time I go through the airport, something happens, it seems like. So it was good on the way down. We went through Dallas, no problem. I'm thinking, okay, we're turning over a new leaf. And then on the way back, first thing that happened is some idiot decided that they could bring a bunch of knives they bought as gifts through TSA. I don't know who that was, but anyhow, that didn't go well. So, but then our plane got delayed because of storms in Dallas, and our plane got delayed, and then it got delayed again. And then luckily, the plane from Dallas to Columbus got delayed a little bit, but we said, okay, we can make this if we run through everything. And of course, you got to go through customs. You got to get your bags, recheck your bags, go back through TSA to get into the States. And then we got to Skylink, and everybody's sitting there in the Skylink, which is their monorail system, and everybody's sitting there like, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And it said, well, Skylink's broke down. So then we decided, okay, we found out, some people looked on the phone and said, well, it's about a half mile away, but we can run and get there. We got 10 minutes. So 25 of us take off running through the airport, and we made it. They closed the door right after us, and we got home. So it was awesome. But the trip itself was great. It's always the travel days. So anyhow. But the Lord was with us. One of the things that I want to do, I want to have our team stand up. Team, stand up. Anybody went on a mission trip? So you know who they are. Yep. Yep. Thank you. So one of the things that is always a blessing to see, it's a little stressful, but somehow it always works out. The people you need to be on that trip end up being on that trip. I'm always amazed, and I shouldn't be because I've led a lot of mission trips, but the Lord always gives you the people you need to get the job done that you're trying to get done. This time, just to give you a quick synopsis of that. So we had a lot of electrical work being done. Usually I have one electrician. We had 5. So it was awesome. And we didn't plan that. We just had it. We had medical, we had nurses that went and worked with the doctors. We had, and I'll tell you just one more thing about that. So the last 5 days before we go, and we're going to have our last meeting at our house with the team and just go over some stuff, Esley contacted me and said, hey, I'd really like you to preach this week. And I'm like, okay. I'd already prepared a communion meditation, so I was ready to do that because they have communion every week, so I was going to speak for that. And I thought, well, I really don't have time to do the sermon. So I said to our group, does anybody want to preach? Fully expecting no one to stand up. And Paul Sparks says, I'll preach. And it was amazing. So again, I'm just always shocked at how the Lord works through these teams. He gives you exactly the people that you need. So what I'm going to do this morning, we're going to have a video that our wonderful Mary Burtock put together. She doesn't like attention, but I'm going to give it to her anyway. So we'll watch that video, and then I'm going to have the different team members that were in charge or involved in the different aspects of the ministry that we performed come up and speak briefly about each one of those endeavors that we were involved in.
Seeing how open everyone is about their faith.
Today when we were praying for the family that had lost the son on Sunday, that was, I don't see ever forgetting that.
You think you live life to the fullest, but if you're not serving, you're not living. God wants us to serve so that we can be like Him.
You know, they're so happy to receive help, even if it's painting a building or setting up windows. It's pretty awesome. I think that's one of the things that's going to change. Just how much we take for granted.
Then we worshiped together in Spanish and in English. It was absolutely beautiful.
Hey, well, first off, Mary, once again, amazing video, and now I just realized I got to follow it by talking about windows and plumbing. So thank you. But anyway, seriously, guys, thank you very much for your support for this trip. We were able to do a lot with the support you guys gave us, so thank you very much. Now, I can't see what's on the screen here, so I've got kind of a hodgepodge of things to talk about. So hopefully it's on the screen. First thing we did, there were several jobs with several leaders that were started at the beginning of the week, but did a lot of work up in the chapel area. So The chapel area is it's a beautiful, mostly glass building that overlooks the valley, but it's also being glass and getting a lot of sunlight. Everything gets a lot of sunlight down there, but that does kind of cause the buildings to heat up quite a bit, and it gets kind of harder to use, harder to be comfortable in there. So a lot of times down there, they take the windows down a shade. They put window tint on them, and I believe Dave Ward actually led that, but he couldn't speak about it because he's running the PowerPoint. So, but anyway, he did it. He did an excellent job with that, and that'll make that building, a lot more comfortable, a lot more usable. Another thing that was done in that room, just kind of while we're on it, they hung some TV mounts and TVs so they can just kind of do like what we have here. They can have words for music up on the screen, and they can also, play videos. One of the last things they did for us was played videos on it, and it was really neat. So they'll be able to do a lot with that chapel building now. Another thing that was done just kind of around the camp, one thing about being out there is it is kind of secluded. There's not a lot of light like there is here, around here in kind of an urban area. So while it is beautiful at night, the sky's clear, you get to look at the stars and everything. It also, at times, if you need to walk around, it can be very, very dark, kind of dangerously. So a lot of solar lights were hung just in various areas to kind of light it up at night. And one thing about that too, solar, it doesn't work as well here, but there, it's sunlight, 98% of the time. So stuff like that tends to work really well down there. So that was one thing that was done. And also kind of throughout the camp, they really wanted to work on extending the Wi-Fi for the whole camp. One thing about the camp that's really good is it's growing, and they're needing to utilize a lot more of the buildings a lot more often. So having Wi-Fi really kind of helps them to be able to do that. Another thing is plumbing. A lot of plumbing needed done this time. And the reason for that is the water is extremely hard down there, and they don't really have a way of dealing with it. So basically the way they deal with it is they buy about the cheapest fixtures you can, and about every 3 to 5 years, they told me, you just have to take all that stuff out and replace it. So it was time to get replaced this time, so the team just kind of went around doing that for all the areas that are used the most, and then with what we had left over, we could kind of venture out into some other areas. But anyway, that's just something down there that needs done regularly. Another thing we did was apparently down there they're content with not having shower heads and just having a piece of 1/2-inch pipe that comes out elbows and just dumps a straight stream of water on you. So anyway, we got it rigged up to where the pipe hangs straight. You can screw shower heads onto it, and that'll also kind of help them, save on water, things like that. So that was another thing. The other thing we did was we bought 2 hot water heaters and changed them. They were both in the men's dorm. We would have put one in the men's dorm, another in the women's dorm, but we didn't know the women didn't have hot water because they didn't complain about it. The men did. So anyway, so the men got two brand new water heaters, and the women, we tried our best to get the ones they had working, but we're able to part of the time, but for the most part, they were without hot water. So, and yeah, I know it was because you told me. So anyway, that's once again really appreciate what you guys did for us. We were able to do a lot with your support. And I believe Samuel's up next. So anyway.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Samuel Daly, for those of you that don't know me, and obviously I went on the trip, and what I was assigned to do was to lead the painting crew, and so I just want to talk a little bit about that. I also can't see the slides, but I think I was told that they have stuff up there. The building we were working on was kind of a chapel/dormitory, and the purpose of it was to basically just expand the camp's capacity. And so we were just working on painting that and trying to get it finished. The goal behind it was that when it's done, they will then have 2 chapels and 2 sets of dorms, and so they will then be able to host 2 smaller camps at the same time and run more camps through, or do bigger camps. I believe the number I was told is if when that's done, if they wanted to do one bigger group, they could do a group up to 200 people. And so that was just really cool, talking a little bit about that and seeing it. The buildings down there are really awesome. It's just kind of neat to see how they build things. Sometimes you find things too that you're just like, what were they doing? It's pretty normal, but it was awesome just to see everybody come together and work as a body and work as a whole. We were able to really get a lot done. The building briefly it was laid out where you go in the door, and you had like kind of an entryway room that then had 2 hallways that went off to the sides, and you had your big sanctuary right in front of you, and then each hallway went to the dorms and then the restrooms. And so I just kind of called those the wings of the building for simplicity. And so we were actually able to get the entire entryway room done and the entire sanctuary, and then we were able to get one of the wings completed as well. We were going to try to get the other wing done, but then we ended up getting rain pretty heavy on that last day, and so Esley was just like, don't worry about it. But we really got a lot done. I really enjoyed seeing everybody just working together. It's funny because I really didn't paint as much as everybody else because I was answering questions a lot, but it was fun. So I ended up just kind of having a couple people go here, a couple people go there, a couple people go there, but it was really cool. It was also something funny that really happened was Esley starts talking to me about colors and color here or color there kind of thing and accent walls, and I looked at him and I was like, we're going to need to consult some women. That is not my thing. And so Valerie and Bobby really helped a lot with that. So that was very helpful to get their 2 cents on all of that. But for me, I think the biggest thing that I just really loved was just seeing the unity, just seeing how much we were able to accomplish, come together as the body of Christ. And I really liked that picture. And so something we talked a little bit about is how to, like, just being mindful of bringing that back here. Like, we really can do so much more together, and that was just the thing that was really encouraging for me. I just loved working with everybody. A couple of us had some speakers, and we just were jamming out and having fun. Reagan and I were the ones that did the sketchy ladder thing, so that was fun. It it was fun. But I was just very, very blessed. So I think that's all I really have. That was what we did. We painted. So, but who's after me?
Okay, my name's Dana Hartman. My wife Jackie and I have been blessed with going to 3 times now. We went down with the group 2 years ago, and her and I were able to go down for a month last year. Sorry. It's nice to be able to go to the same place, see the same people, and build relationships with those people. That last clip on the video, a little explanation on that. We have 14 grandkids, so I'm kind of used to goofing off with young people. And the little guy that was being swung in a circle kept knocking everybody's hats off, and I happened to be on the plane behind Reagan coming back, and I kept messing with his hat, and his mom, Valerie, turned around and said, do I need to come back there and straighten you out? So, well, I don't want to grow up. I want to be able to have a relationship with adults and kids at the same time. So, okay, just to give you a list, Rod Yost and I kind of headed up the team. I worked for the power company for 37 years, not actually an electrician, but I know enough about electrical. I still have my fingers and toes and everything. Shocked a few times, but not serious. The rest of our team was Paul Sparks, Nathan Barker, David Biggers, and Chad Dilly. And like was said, all of them had some experience with electric. So that helped. I could tell them a project that we're going to do, and they knew enough to go ahead with the project. I teach a class at the Look Up Center on electrical, teaching adults that a little bit about electric so they can have a chance of getting better jobs. This is the size, approximately the size of the wire that feeds a hot water tank in the U.S. There's 2 of them, and you get 240 volts. This is what fed that entire building that they were painting on, upstairs and down. And they had 2 legs of power coming up the hill, but one of them had been cut off because there's a short in that wire. So they had one wire this size feeding that entire building. We hoped to upgrade that, but what we didn't really upgrade anything, just changed how it was fed. This is the wire that normally feeds your house in the United States, with 2 of these, 240 volts. So instead of having 200 amps, they had 30 amps to feed the entire building. Challenges, 2 years ago, didn't know what fed that building. I did a lot of work in that building, got shocked a couple of times, but sent my pliers flying. We, on the light switch, switched the power wire. They switched the neutral wire. So when I flipped the switch off, there's still a hot wire up where I was wiring that wasn't supposed to be hot. So my hand touched the concrete, which was grounded, and ding, ow! At least this time, 2 years ago, we didn't know what fed that building, and they found that out. So we were able to kill the power when we needed to. But yeah, it was challenging that we wanted to get the whole project completed, but other things were happening in that building where we had to stop our work and didn't have the full time to do the work. But they're so appreciative that the next team or somebody locally can finish what we started. Had to run everything on the concrete ceiling. I took 4 concrete bits with me, and we burned up all of them, and didn't get the whole project completed. But like I said, I'm 72 years old. Rod Yost is 74, so he was the elder statesman on the crew, and Reagan was the youngest at 14. So no matter how old you are or how young you are, you can be a part of this project, and they're so grateful for any kind of help that they can get.
Hello, my name is Kayla Mount, and this was my first time getting to go to Mexico and even travel out of the country, so it was just such a cool experience, and I was glad that I got to be a part of it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the women's event that we had while we were there. One of the things that I loved about this event and just about the people there in Mexico is how laid back the event was. We joked about it being Mexico time. They say to be somewhere at 1:30 and you show up at 1:15 so that you're on time, and they show up around 3. So that happened to us a few times while we were there, but the event was supposed to start at 4, which means that's when everyone starts rolling in. Around 4:15 is around when the women who are leading the event show up for it. So it was kind of cool though, just to see how they're so laid back with their time and they're not as rushed as we are. And it was just kind of cool to see the difference in that way. Some of us got to go early in the day to set up for the event, do some decorations. It was very simple, not a ton to it, but they made a beautiful balloon arch. And all that stuff for the event. So it was just cool because, they put time into it and they put effort into making it a nice event for the women, but they weren't super concerned about it being this production and we have to be ready up here for everyone else to see that we're ready and we know exactly what we're doing. They're very laid back with it, and they're not concerned about what everyone's thinking of them while they're up there. And so I felt like that was cool for us to get to experience it in that way. The event started with worship, and we loved worship. I'm sure Paul talked a little bit about this with the church, but a lot of the songs that they sing, we actually know in English. So it's really fun to get to hear those songs with them and follow along in Spanish, thinking about them in English. And the ladies from Redemption actually got an opportunity to all come up and sang a song for them, and that was so fun. They were so excited and just had so much joy from it. And I think you could see in the video they were all saying, one more song, one more song. And so Ronya got her guitar out again and flipped through, and we picked out another song to sing for them. And they were just overjoyed to get to hear us worshiping in songs that they know in their language. So that was really cool, just to get to have that shared connection with them and seeing that, we're all worshiping the same God, even if it's in different languages, and just even somewhere so far away, they're worshiping the same God. While we were there at the event, I got the opportunity to share a message, and I spoke on the story of Ruth and Naomi and the hardships that they went through and the journey that God took them through. At some point they had no food, they had no protection, they had no shelter, and they were questioning what does God have for us. Especially Naomi was really struggling to trust in God's plan for them and what he had in the future. And in the end, God ends up providing far more than they ever expected for them. And even, Ruth ends up marrying Boaz. And it was funny because as I say that, and as I say, even Ruth, she gets a husband. All the women are like, ooh, husband. But it was really cool because, I prayed about it beforehand and I chose this passage to do, but God ended up using it far more than I expected to. One of the women who go to the church on the Sunday after the church service in the afternoon, she ended up losing her son in an accident at a local waterfall, her teenage son, and she was just heartbroken. The church was heartbroken for her, and we were able to see the church come around her, and we could tell that they were so sad for her. And after I had gotten done speaking, the translator, she took a minute to say a few words, and she had said, in the story of Ruth and Naomi loses her husband, she loses her sons, and she felt like she had nothing. And we have no idea when we could lose our family members and our loved ones. But we always know that we have God. He's the one who's always there, and we can always trust because he's eternal. And it was just really cool how God made that connection between that story. We have all these women in the room who are mourning this loss, and to see that hope that we do have in Christ, that even when these tragedies happen, we have that hope in him. And so it was just really cool to see how God ended up using that, and we had no idea that he was going to do it in that way. So at the end, we got to pass out gift bags to each of the women, and they had things like hair clips, bracelets, nail polish, nail files, just like a bunch of little things that we can get for not super expensive here, but it's a huge deal to them, and it means so much to them. And they were super excited to be able to get these things, and they're taking the hair clips out and putting them in their hair, and it was just really cool to get to see how much joy they have. And they have barely anything. I mean, they live in dirt floors and shacks, and you give them anything, and they just have so much joy. And we went there to try to bless them, and we just left feeling so blessed by them. And, we were just so thankful to get to be a part of that with them. So, yeah.
Good morning, Redemption. I wish I could see the pictures, so someone tell me. No, the worship of these people, just is, honestly, I was left a little convicted, and I'm just going to say that we as a people could do better. They totally inspired me, inspired my walk. You know, I don't know what I was thinking when I opened my big mouth and said, "Oh, I'll do it, Todd." But I went up there and I did it, and I agonized. I probably rewrote the message, I don't know, 25 times, and I'm still not satisfied with it. But it's over now. So, but these people, I just in a matter of a week, I developed some hearty friendships, and I, you know, the real heroes are the other 23 people that were on the mission with me, because they got to put up with me for a week. But I went down there and I talked about being of service. You know, that was kind of our mission, to be of service. And being of service is what I would say an expectation of God. You know, I quoted some scripture, and I probably misquoted. I'm scared to say it because John's looking at me. But I quoted, "To him who much has been given, much is expected." And every one of us have been given a gift of salvation if we've accepted Jesus Christ. And there's no greater gift than that. But it comes with an expectation. And that expectation, you know, Jesus told us about in Matthew when he said, you know, let me separate the goats from the sheep. And you who fed me when I was hungry and gave me something to drink when I was thirsty and clothed me when I was naked and invited me in when I had nowhere to stay and visited me while I was incarcerated, you sit on my right. And, you know, to me, those are the expectations. And if we're not out doing those things, what are we really doing? We're just trying to rest in the laurels of our fire insurance because we think we have salvation. And I just would encourage everyone in here to consider that as we go about our daily lives. The people we went down to serve are some of the kindest, most generous, joyful, loving people that I have ever encountered in my life. And I went down with a message and came back with a mission. And I would say that we as a church should really take a look at these slides that I can't see, I keep looking for them, but and think about how can I be of service? How can I be of service to my neighbor? You know, I was so inspired by Marilyn's emails, you know, "Oh, we got paint going, we're almost ready, things are happening." And I'm like, man, it's not just, we don't have to travel very far to help somebody else. And I know in the Sunday mornings, we minister to people in the community, and I think that's wonderful. And I'm fortunate enough to work for a ministry that ministers to disenfranchised human beings that are incarcerated. And they truly ministered to us with kindness, joy, and love that I don't know too many people that exemplify that. John, you would love it because you don't have to worry about being late for church. You'll get the message because, kind of like Kayla said, you know, church may start at 6, but they're still going at 9, and they're loving it. You know, I've never seen such a wonderful set of joyful givers. I would encourage all of you to break out into a dance when that basket comes around, because they do. They demonstrate joyful giving, and you know. I just am forever inspired. I'm looking forward to the next trip, Todd. So I know it's a lot of work for you. I want to thank you very much for the work you do and the work that you did. It was a true example of a servant. And, you know, I just want to encourage everybody in this room as we step into this new location that we look for opportunities to serve our neighbors, to serve one another, and to you know, bless the Lord doing it, because he's the one that deserves the glory. All we did was you know, some simple tasks that are simple expectations. And I just would say, lastly, did I go 5 yet? Dang. Is that I gotta kind of cut it short because I snuck up here because I left my poor wife down there with a bunch of kids, and I'm looking at you back there with the sunglasses. Yeah, those guys. No, I'm kidding. They're wonderful children, but there are opportunities to serve. I saw or heard something. Those kids are wonderful. Get down there. I was a little intimidated, but they need your attention, you know. And we can't raise up solid Christian men and women if we're not demonstrated solid Christian values and moral support. So please step out of your comfort zone. I did it. It's worth it. I'm telling you. Thank you guys so much for your support for this mission.
Okay, I'm back again. Like Todd said, some people got sick before we went. Some people got sick while we were on the trip. Jackie got sick after we got back, and I'll probably get sick next week. So far, I'm good. And she's supposed to have 5 minutes. She'll probably ad-lib, but I don't know how to ad-lib what she put down. She wanted to talk about Sharing Hope. Sharing Hope is a program for the children of La Presa, which is the village we can walk to from the camp, and La Baznaga, which should be a 20-minute drive, but it's about 40 minutes because of the roads are, you pick which pothole to hit. Try to hit the smallest pothole, so it takes a lot longer. And that is all under the umbrella of WHO, Worldwide Hispanic Outreach. Okay. And actually it's based in Indiana, but everybody that runs the organization is down there in Mexico. Not to take anything away from other organizations that help children, but WHO is a little different to us. You can go online to the organization and look for a child you might want to sponsor for $35 a month. All the $35 goes directly to the children, no overhead at all. With Jackie and I, we sponsored two children. They're brother and sister. I know Mary was able to meet the child she sponsored, and Nikki was able to meet the child she sponsors. It just makes it different when we keep going down as a church and you can build that relationship with these young people. When you sponsor a child, they get medical attention, school supplies, food, Christmas and birthday presents. And she wrote, Dana and I, Nikki and Mary were able to spend time with the children. We sponsor and give them gifts. I got to help, our kids are Lorenzo and Estrella. I got to help Lorenzo and Estrella do their crafts and sit with them while they ate. They remembered us from last year. We had given them backpacks full of fun. It was just awesome to see Jackie go up to them, and he started smiling and got up and gave her hugs because having that relationship of being with them for the last 3 years, they recognized us. We had pleasures of helping with the Sharing Hope Girls program in La Presa. You should have heard the girls sing. They were so loud and excited to praise God. The teachers told them to sing loud enough that other kids in the village could hear them, and they did. Then we helped them with their crafts and talked with them while they ate. We also helped with the Sharing Hope program in La Baznaga, singing with them and helping them with their crafts and talking with them while they ate. These kids are so happy regardless of their situation. They have much joy in them even though they don't have very much. They're very appreciative of the attention and time that we share with them.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm Valerie, and this is Nikki. Oh yeah, you're really gonna have to pull it down, especially for me. Okay, is that better? Okay, I'm Valerie, and Reagan, my son, and I got to go to Mexico first time ever First time for him leaving the country, first time for both of us going on a mission trip. So really everyone has covered just about everything except for the medical part. Nikki and I are both nurses, so I'll try to keep it brief here, but we did 2 days of medical care. And the first day we did a walk-in clinic up in the chapel area, actually, that we were working on earlier in the week. We saw over 110 patients. It was, it was amazing. We were supposed to go from 9 in the morning to finish up at 1 o'clock. We didn't finish up till about 4:30, and then we had cleanup afterwards. But Esley and Sandy, the 2 doctors that we were working with, anticipated on only seeing 50 patients that day. So in turn, we saw double the number of patients, treated them, and took care of them. And it was one of the most beautiful things that Nikki and I got to see and work with. There were babies as young as 4 months old that came in with their mothers that were 18 or 20 years old, and we saw people all the way up into their 70s. So varying conditions that we saw and treated patients for, ranging from some chronic conditions of things that we treat all the time here, but high blood pressure, diabetes, different things like that. But they don't have the access like we have here. And so their medical care is much different, and it was quite eye-opening for Nikki and I to see. We also treated things like various infections, bronchitis, sinusitis, other kind of infections that they've been living with, and they just don't have the access to the medical care like we have. So Nikki and I administered a lot of injections for patients with antibiotics or steroids, taught the patients how to give those injections to them at home for a few days afterwards. And it was just amazing for us to be able to use our communication. Even though there was a language barrier, we were able to still provide the education that they needed, answer questions that they had. And then it was also just amazing that the Spirit of God just opened it up that they would ask us to pray for them, and we had the opportunity to pray with them and to pray over them. Some of them had some fears and anxieties that were quite heavy, and to just be able to have that presence of God and give us the words to say when we didn't know what to say even at times, because some of their burdens were so heavy, and that they opened it up to us and allowed us to have that privilege to pray and to intercede for them was so lovely. And the people that helped us out with the medical team, it wasn't just me and Nikki. We had a whole slew of people coming and helping us alongside. People that took vitals, people that, the vital signs, people that entertained. Okay, so am I still on? Okay. We had a whole team of people, though, that took vital signs, that interacted with the children, that sang and played music, helped the pastor of the church. Actually, part of his ministry with the medical team is that he witnesses to those that are sitting there waiting, which some of these patients, as you can imagine, waited for hours to see the doctor and to get the care. So it was just amazing to see everybody come together and work as a body of Christ, and that, not to be corny, but just like our body, we have different parts, and to see that everyone was utilized. It doesn't matter what skill set you have. It doesn't matter if it's a trained skill or not. God will use you. And we just all came together. We worked like a well-oiled machine, and it was just incredible to go down there and to serve all these people and to go be a blessing to them. And what came back in return for us just resonated. And I just pray and hope that the church will feel that from us, and I pray and hope that you guys would be inspired as well. We don't have to go all the way to Mexico to serve, as everyone has said. We can do it here. We should be doing it here, but that would just, to be able to continue to serve. When you're serving others, you're serving God. So, and he will bless you. And then, do you need me to talk for you, or can you talk?
I can talk.
Okay, Nikki's gonna talk now. So, thank you guys.
Okay. Okay, so I was one of the fortunate ones that got sick after we got back. I'm not sick anymore. I just sound like this, so forgive me. I'm going to do a different view on the medical part since she went through and said, explained everything we did medical-wise. I had talked to Dr. Sandy and Dr. Esley, and they just sent me a little snippet of what they do. So I just wanted to share it with you guys because it's amazing what they do down there. So forgive me. Dr. Sandy said, serving in a Christian medical brigade is important because it combines physical health care with spiritual support and compassion, following the biblical example of love of neighbor. These brigades provide essential, preventative, and free medical care to vulnerable communities or communities with limited access to health services, generating a lasting impact on their well-being. Not only are physical ailments treated, but spiritual support is also provided through prayer, praise, and reading the Bible. The Christian brigades work with an approach of love, solidarity, and social empathy, demonstrating the gospel in action. It seeks to imitate Jesus Christ, who healed and attended to the needs of the people without making sense of people. Where it is not just about healing symptoms, it's about bringing hope through physical, emotional, and spiritual care, because behind each consultation, there is a story, and behind every hug, prayer, there is a seed of faith. Where we encourage and teach patients to pray for physical and spiritual healing, seeking that God heals diseases, as he teaches in James 5:14 through 15 and Matthew 9:35. Giving us the opportunity for service and vocation, it allows health professionals, doctors, nurses, dentists, and volunteers to use their skills to make a real difference in the lives of others. It is a joy to serve others through our vocation and sharing the loyal love of God. Blessings. So that's what they do, and that's one thing I love about their organization is they put God first. Before you get any type of medical care, they're ministering to you, they're worshiping with you, and that's what's important. So I just have one more thing to say, just real quick, before I really start losing my voice. So what impacted me the most wasn't just the medical work, it was the moments when we prayed with our patients. Moments when language didn't matter because compassion and prayer spoke louder than our words. And moments when I realized that something as simple as starting an IV or giving an injection could be a small act of God's love in someone's life. The trip reminded me that healing is about much more than medicine. It's being the hands and feet of Jesus while we're there. And that doesn't always mean doing something big in their lives. It was with every IV started, every injection given, every breathing treatment given, every hand held during treatment. It was an opportunity to share compassion, joy, and the love of Jesus. The truth is, while we were in Mexico to serve, we came home feeling like we were the ones who received the blessings. Seeing their faith, resilience, and joy in the midst of hardship, it changes you, and it's just a reminder of how powerful the love of Christ truly is. So, thank you.
So thank you guys for sharing, and I just want to close out. It's running late, so if there's questions, you're welcome to come up to me afterwards. I'll be here. I'll try to answer any questions you have. I was going to do that, but we're kind of running late, so any questions, come up to me afterwards. I just want to assure you that what you're supporting as a church is worth supporting. These people their needs are getting met. The light of Christ is, like I've said before, it's shining in a very dark place. We're seeing a great difference in that. I appreciate all the giving. We had more money than we needed to do everything we needed. I want to share one quick story, and then I'll pray us out. So I had a situation where we always collect money from people that can't go that want to help somebody go. Usually what I do is I divide that up because I have several people wanting to go. And this year, I didn't have anybody that needed help. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? And I even went to the individuals that gave it and said, I'm not sure what to do with this because nobody's needed it. And then just in the last maybe couple of weeks before we went, somebody come up to me one Sunday morning as I'm setting up chairs and said, I really wanted to go, but I had prayed about it and the money just wasn't there. I said, the money's here. Because that was an answer to prayer, because I thought if we don't use it for that, we'll have to use it for something else. And that person got to go, and it was a blessing. And it's just amazing to me how God works out even the little details and things like that. So thank you all for what you do. It is truly changing lives down there, and I appreciate it. So let's pray and get us out of here. Father, we just thank you so much for... I thank you for this church. I thank you for the people here. I thank you for the love they show, not just for each other, but for people around the world. Father, I'm thankful that we were able to go to Mexico. You kept us safe. You watched over us. And even when the enemy's right there, you are greater and you're with us. I thank you for what was accomplished. I pray for the people down there. I pray that you would help them to continue with their ministry and be supported. Father, I do want to mention one special prayer, a little girl named America who the team ministered to, who's been having a growth that kind of keeps coming back. I pray you'd be with that little girl and her family. And I pray for healing for her. And Lord, for what you do, we always give you glory and praise, and we always know you know what's best. Father, I thank you for my family here at this church. Please be with them this week. We love you, Lord. Amen.